Hi, welcome back to part 2 of our series of videos on applying dry transfers. I'm Woody Von Drasik, the owner of Archer Fine Transfers, or at least these are my hands. And today we're going to go over some of the more advanced techniques. And the first thing we're going to cover is probably the most frequently asked question that we get is, can you apply dry transfers to Zimmerit or uneven surfaces? And the answer is yes. Our dry transfers are printed with a very flexible ink, and they work very well over Zimmerit and things like that, panel lines and other uneven surfaces. What you'll need for this part is our bargain basement burnisher, the sponge rubber, an X-Acto knife, and this is a part from one of those old Idolary kits that had the Zimmerit with it. And then of course we have the dry transfers. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to cut one of these out using your X-Acto knife. Like that. And remove the individual transfer from the sheet. Like that. What we're going to do is take a small piece of tape like this and put it on the edge. This is always so much fun. Like that. And position it like that. And take your burnisher and burnish just like we did in the first video. And now the transfer at this point is only going to stick to the high parts, so don't rub too hard. What I'm doing here is I'm pushing about as hard as you would if you were writing something with a pencil. And lift the carrier film and peel the tape off and get rid of that. Then you take your sponge rubber and push. And that's all there is to it. As you can see, it's down in all the recesses and adhered well to everything. Okay. Now some guys, and I don't know why, but they use setting solutions for this. I have no idea why they do that. Setting solutions don't seem to have much of an effect on dry transfers in my experience, but if you want to experiment with using setting solutions, that's entirely up to you. Now we're going to apply some fine lettering, fine stencils. In this case here, these are shipping stencils. And the only thing you have to keep in mind here is that each piece of each letter is a separate object, so there's nothing holding it together other than the plastic film, so keep that in mind. So what you want to do is position the dry transfer and start rubbing over it. Now you notice I go over the whole word, and again we're pressing just about as hard as you would if you were erasing something with a pencil eraser. You don't need to hammer these things on or force them or mash them down to the point where the plastic carrier film is all warped and stretched out of shape. If that's the case, you probably have an old sheet or the adhesive has gone bad. In that case here, in that case there. Everything that we have ever sold is unconditionally guaranteed forever. If you ever buy anything from us that doesn't satisfy you 100%, let us know and we will gladly either replace it or send you a full refund. Now once you've done that, you want to lift the carrier film, but as you do, you're going to want to watch and see if any of the pieces have not transferred. You want to do this real slow and peel it up like that. Aha! In this case here, everything is transferred completely, but if a piece is left stuck to the carrier film, just lay the film back down and just burnish directly over that one spot. And that should assure that everything is transferred completely. Okay, then once you get it down like that, again, you take your backing paper and the flat end of your burnishing tool and rub over it to make sure everything is stuck down real good. And like I told you before, once they're on, they're on. You can chip these, you can scratch them, you can weather them however you want. Okay? And that's that for that part. Now I'm going to show you how to make a straight line of letters or numbers as though you were going to build a custom registration number for your vehicle, your tank, what have you, or make a name on the side of your tank with one of our generic sheets of lettering. What you'll need for this is Post-it notes, a sharp X-Acto knife. You're not doing yourself any favor by using a dull knife. Put a fresh blade in there. Your El Cheapo burnishing tool, a pair of scissors, your straight edge, and a piece of plastic cardstock. This is approximately 40 thousandths thick. That's 0.040 inches. And what we're going to do with this is position the ruler a fixed distance from the base of the letters. So what you do is you put your ruler on there like that, and you take the cardstock and keeping in mind that the letters that have rounded tops and bottoms like zeros are actually higher or actually taller than letters that have squared off ends like 1s and 4s and 7s and things like that. The reason for that is that letters with rounded tops and bottoms, if they were exactly the same height as a squared off letter, they would appear smaller. So if you don't believe me, get a magazine or newspaper or something like that and lay a straight edge across the baseline of the squared off letters, and you'll notice that the rounded letters do extend a little above and below the baseline of the lettering. So keeping that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to position our straight edge along using the cardstock as a guide. We're going to position the straight edge the same distance from the base of the squared off letters. Then you take your X-Acto knife and make several light passes. Don't try to mash all the way through there on one cut. Just keep cutting until it comes off. There. Now set this aside. And the next thing you want to do is create a baseline for your letters. You do that by taking 2 sheets of Post-it notes, tearing them off together, take your scissors and cut the adhesive part off, and discard the other pieces. Then you put your guide down like that. Now what we're going to do is butt the dry transfer sheet up against the base of your Post-it note line. And you take your burnishing tool and transfer the first part of your registration code. Just like this. Do the best you can to make sure you're burnishing over the entire letters and all the objects, the periods and what have you. And then gently lift the backing, lift the film, and everything is off. Set that aside. Take your backing paper and the flat end of your burnishing tool and burnish over that so it's stuck down real good. Then you take the second part and position it like that, and take your burnishing tool and burnish over those letters. Or numbers or what have you, whatever you're working with. And again, gently lift that part off. Now, if you need to add another letter, just slide it over like that. Now remember that letters and numbers are not spaced apart. They're not all spaced the same distance apart. They're spaced so that they're optically spaced properly, which means that, like if you have an M and a 1 next to each other, you're going to want to put a little more space between those two than you would if you had an A next to another A, or an L next to an I. Those letters go closer together so that they optically appear correct. That takes a little getting used to, but that's the theory. Rub over your next letter and repeat the process. One more time. And you get the idea. Okay? That's all for today. Bye.